Welcome to the Vet SOS Veteran Educational Program Spotlight. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline. We're brought to you by the Who You Know Network and are a proud member of the Parade Deck community. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Hira. How are you doing today, Hira?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing wonderful. I'm such a nerd. I love learning about other schools. So every one of these podcasts gets me so excited. Makes me want to be a student again.
You just finished your doctorate. You already want to be a student again. I've realized in the last recording, everybody's a doctor but me. So maybe I have to go back to school now just so I don't, stand out. All right. So we're sitting down today with Curtis Addleman, Executive Director of Military and Veteran Student Services at the Catholic University of America. He is the executive director for that program, based out of Washington, D.C. He's retired senior chief culinary specialist, a native of State College, Pennsylvania. He enlisted in the Navy in 2003, serving in various roles, including Enlisted Aide for Senior Military Leaders and Senior Enlisted Leader for Naval Support Activity Bethesda. He holds a master's in higher education and has been recognized with multiple service medals throughout his distinguished career, including the Defense Meritorious Services Medal. How you doing today, Curtis?
Hey, I'm doing great. Really just happy to have you guys had me on. This is awesome. So appreciate the time and looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. And I actually did my master's through Penn State.
Hey, all right.
Of course, it was all online because I was still on active duty. But, it's one of those things, man. And I grew up outside of Philly. My dad was stationed at Willow Grove outside of Philadelphia there. So it definitely I haven't been back to there in quite a while either. I just realized my high school reunion, my 30-year high school reunion was last year. I'm like, man, I'm old.
We need to get you back into PA, man, just to visit. But it's always nice to meet another Nittany Lion as well. So, yeah, that's where my master's is from Penn State. My sister's the associate registrar at the university right now as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, some family ties to it, which is great.
Yeah, and I love their veteran program, and they took care of me great, when I was going through there. So. Well, let's go ahead and start, real quick with just how your transition went.
So my transition was pretty interesting. So I was finishing up my master's while I was the command senior enlisted leader for NSA Bethesda. I was also going through a medical retirement board. I was able to get to my 20-year mark, so that kind of went away. But the unique part of it is once I turned over from as the SEL, I was able to do skill bridge at Catholic University. So I just hit my 2-year mark with them and went from a graduate assistant to the director of the Veterans Upward Bound program. Nice. And now I'm the executive director for the whole office. And it's just been great. The only thing I wish that I would have done differently is I wish I would have taken a little bit of a break between service and taking up this mantle, because there are days where it's like, oh man, it'd be nice to rest a little bit.
Amen to that. Glad to hear it, man. You did skill bridge, which trying to convince, especially senior leaders, you need to do skill bridge. I did that as well when I retired, and it's just the whole process is so beneficial.
It is.
And I'm with you. I didn't take a break either. So when I finally took like a 2-week vacation, I was like, oh, this is awesome. So yeah, that's great.
My wife and I are doing 2 weeks in France in the spring to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. So that'll be my first true break. And I'll tell you, I can't wait.
All right. Congratulations on that one.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you already kind of talked a little bit about this pathway of how did you end up in higher ed, but for maybe those who are unfamiliar, what was skill bridge? What is skill bridge?
Sure.
And, again, how did that pathway open for you to now be a director?
So the whole process was really interesting. I started my master's in higher ed with the intent of working at a culinary school. That had been my goal since pretty much the day I joined as a cook. And I had a few injuries while I was on the sub. And honestly, my body just can't take the 17 hours of, work in the kitchen that requires. So I had to have a real gut check moment on, all right, what am I going to do with this now that I've accepted that that's not going to work? So I still wanted to stay in education, and I cold called every university in the DC area just to find somebody like, hey, do you need free labor for 6 months? That's all I want. And luckily, Catholic had just started the Skill Bridge program, which is
Nice.
a a great program to really help build those transition skills, how to take what we've done in the military and translate that into whatever that next career is going to be. So for me, that was an invaluable part of the whole process.
Yeah.
The guy that I was working for, who's now my equivalent at Georgetown. Boo. No, we love Georgetown. He's a reserve major and was just so supportive of the whole process on, his transition from active duty into the veteran higher education space. So just a great mentor to have throughout that.
Mentors make a difference. That's for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. So,
I just realized that we're going to be having some of these school rivalry things come out on the show. It's going to be great.
It's good. It's a good, healthy rivalry, just like the branches.
That's right. Exactly. We're all friends when we're together. And, that's just the best part about this whole community. I love it.
Yeah.
So I obviously don't know everything about school, but I feel like I'm familiar with a lot of universities and colleges and everything like that. And the Catholic University of America was one of those that I honestly had never heard of until, we started researching and trying to find schools and things like that. So tell us a little bit about the actual university.
Yeah, so it's the only Catholic university in the United States that is endorsed by the Vatican, which is pretty cool. And it's a small private institution. Student body is about 4,800. Of that 4,800, we have about 200 that are military connected.
Wow.
It's a great school for engineering, for business, the humanities, just a really fun place to be. And honestly, I think the best kept secret in DC. We're up in Northeast DC. We've got 176 acres of campus space, which is mostly green space. So, outside of the National Mall, you don't find that anywhere else here. Really supportive environment too. They are a religious institution, and the thing that I love about it is that you can really choose your level of involvement on that side. It's not forced down your throat. It's not like punching you in the name of it's the Catholic University of America, so you're not going to forget that. But it's a great organization that is so supportive, not only of our veteran community, but just trying to build the community around us up. So I'm really proud to be there.
It sounds to me like you should have the Pope doing the commencement address every year.
That's kind of what I was thinking, right? Like, how have we not made that happen yet?
That's fantastic. What do you think about that here?
I think it's, again, what I love about this podcast is we're bringing on these schools that we don't maybe know about. And I think a lot of our military community, how else are they going to find some of us, when you're small and, you always hear the big names getting out in the transition, right? But it's really about finding your best fit. And what you were sharing about, like, what is somebody looking for in a campus itself? I think that, that's going to resonate with a lot of people. And, in terms of the direct veteran support, do you mind sharing a little bit about, what your program is doing directly for the military community? Those 200 students, that's a very substantial amount given the size of the school.
So one of the things, and I took over this role about 4 months ago, and I decided then that I wanted to kind of approach this from a senior enlisted standpoint. So our ROTC programs, our veteran programs, including Veterans Upward Bound, all of our military connected student programs, so Student Veterans of America, all of that stuff is run through my office. And we now have the school certifying official as part of that office. We're in the process of getting funding for a second SCO. We also have the Veterans Upward Bound director, their academic counselor, all within my office, which what I love about that is we're taking that entire military connected community and bringing them together. I want the veterans and the dependents, beneficiaries to be in that same conversation with the ROTC students so that they can really learn how that community operates once they become a commissioned officer. Because anybody that thinks that their service is only about them is wildly mistaken. The family's involved, the neighbors are involved, everybody's involved. So it frustrates me when you get into higher ed and then we start playing that almost gatekeeping game.
Yeah.
Like, no, if you were connected to the military, you're part of this military connected family, in my opinion. So we're going to do everything we can to try to support you.
That's a
like
fantastic approach. Absolutely. So for the audience, tell us a little, what's Veteran Upward Bound?
So I honestly, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, but also one of my biggest passions. So Veterans Upward Bound has been around for 50 years and nobody's heard of it. So I spent 20 years in the Navy. I heard of it when we got the grant to run the program. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. What is this? So Veterans Upward Bound is a Department of Education funded program to serve low-income, first-generation college student veterans. So we're funded to serve 125 veterans annually who are in the DC area that are looking to get back into school, who maybe have never been in school. So they need that skill set on how to be successful in higher education. We deal with a lot of Vietnam and Gulf War I veterans that have either exhausted their benefits or because they were under the old GI Bill, those benefits ran out and they never applied for the post 9/11. So we're trying to come up with ways for them to be able to offset the cost to get back into some sort of educational program to improve where they're at. Some of our big partners are US Vets, Veterans on the Rise, those organizations that are really trying to help those veterans that have maybe fallen on some hard times. There are about, I think, I'm gonna give you the wrong number now, but it was 66 programs around the country. I think it's a little bit more now, but I mean, and it's free. Everything that we do through that costs the veterans nothing. We do a lot of other things. We're partnered with an organization called Tech for Troops that so on the 25th, JP Morgan and our staff are teaching a 2-day computer literacy and financial skills workshop. And then we're taking the whole group to a Nats game. The Nats gave us some tickets and we're really excited about it. So it's just one of those programs that doesn't get a lot of the publicity, doesn't get a lot of the flash, but is honestly a phenomenal program through the Department of Ed.
Yeah, you got all the best kept secrets over there, apparently.
That's my goal, is to now take them out of the secret category and make everybody aware.
The Upward Bound programs are really phenomenal. And again, a resource within higher ed that a lot of people are unaware of. And so thank you for sharing what that program is. And it's a reminder, go check out the resources, lean into your intersectionality of identities. There might be programs you can access that, are beyond the veteran status or within it, so thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. And, through our programs and everything that we're trying to build, DC is not a state, so we don't have the state level VA, which is disappointing because whilst the VA centers here in the district are great, it doesn't have that same local touch on it. So we really want to position ourselves through that Veterans Upward Bound program to fill that gap. Whether a veteran wants to come to CUA or not, we want to help them in that transition process. We're trying to take the whole human approach. So if you don't know where your next meal is, where your next paycheck's coming from, or where you're going to sleep next week, let's work through those things before we start talking about an educational plan, because we want you to get in there and when you're able to start, to truly be successful.
That's the senior NCO approach, right?
That's what I was hearing.
Here we're out of time again.
Oh my goodness!
I did it again. I took you right off schedule.
It's all right. Thank you, Curtis, for joining us on the Vet SOS podcast today. On behalf of the Vet SOS family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us. You can find the Vet SOS podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, and all social media platforms. Make sure you subscribe and follow Vet SOS so you don't miss a thing. And please remember, don't drown in the sea of the transition. Grab the Vet SOS lifeline.